Welcome to the Past in Pictures channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. An elderly Italian woman shows gratitude to an American soldier after the liberation of Italy in 1945, when Allied forces expelled German and fascist troops, ending years of occupation and suffering. The scene symbolizes the relief and hope that marked the war's end in the country. The Space Shuttle Challenger is seen on January 28, 1986, seconds before it exploded 73 seconds after liftoff from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The accident resulted in the loss of all 7 crew members and the suspension of United States crewed missions for nearly 3 years. Gordon, an enslaved man in the state of Mississippi, escaped in 1863 and joined the Union Army during the American Civil War. A photograph taken that same year showed deep scars on his back from repeated physical punishment. A view of destruction in Dresden's Old Town, captured from the City Hall Tower on February 15, 1945, after Allied bombing during World War II. The city was severely damaged, with much of its historic architecture destroyed. In 1948 in Chicago, the Chalafoux family faced severe financial hardship. A famous photo shows a mother beside a sign offering her children for adoption. Despite conflicting accounts about the story, the children were taken in by different families in the following years. A car tries to escape the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines. Considered one of the 20th century's largest eruptions, it sent ash to more than 22 miles high and affected millions of people, causing destruction in several regions and temporary changes in global climate. A crash at Montparnasse station in Paris in 1895 occurred when a train failed to stop, crossed the end of the line, broke through a wall, and fell to the street from a height of about 33 feet. Several people were injured. The image became one of the best-known records in railway history. A Titanic lifeboat is seen during the rescue on April 15, 1912, in the Atlantic Ocean. The photograph was taken from the ship Carpathia, which reached the site a few hours after the sinking and rescued more than 700 survivors. The Titanic disaster became one of the most notable maritime events of the 20th century. Displaced people cross a destroyed bridge in 1945, trying to escape the devastating effects of World War II. The scene reflects post-war human drama marked by destruction, loss, and the search for shelter and rebuilding amid the chaos left by the conflict. An unidentified man became world famous for standing alone before a line of tanks during the 1989 protests in Tiananmen Square in Beijing. The photograph became one of the most striking symbols of civil resistance and came to represent the struggle for free expression amid political repression. A French woman warmly greets an American soldier in Strasbourg, France, 2 days after the city's liberation. On November 22, 1944, Allied forces expelled German troops, marking a moment of relief and celebration for locals after years of military occupation. A 1945 photograph from Coney Island, New York, shows a park attraction where performers displayed unusual skills and traits common in popular shows of the time. These events, known as sideshows, were an important part of urban entertainment in the early 20th century and drew large summer crowds. A United States Marine holds a Japanese child on the island of Saipan in 1944 during Pacific fighting in World War II. The photograph records a rare moment of care and compassion amid the devastation of war. A clown with an unusual look poses for the camera, creating an unsettling atmosphere. Images like this are often linked to old circuses or themed events and evoke feelings of mystery and strangeness. This image presents the definition of the ideal body as shown by Time magazine in 1950. The illustration reflects the era's aesthetic standards and focuses on physical traits valued by that society. German soldiers comfort a crying child in 1944 during World War II. The visibly shaken girl is supported by the troops amid destruction, recording a rare moment of humanity and compassion within the conflict. Hungary in 1945, just after the end of World War II, shows cities in ruins, with destroyed buildings and devastated streets, while the population faced food shortages, slow rebuilding, and insecurity that marked the nation's post-war period. British soldiers are wounded after a gas attack during fighting in Astères in 1918 in World War I. The image shows the devastating effects of chemical weapons used in the conflict, which caused serious physical and emotional harm to thousands of fighters. Wounded Indian soldiers receive care at the Royal Pavilion in Brighton, Sussex in 1918 during World War I. The site was converted into a temporary hospital to treat the British Empire's wounded. A dog trained for parachute jumps during World War II performs an exercise at Andrews Field, Essex. These animals were prepared for special missions and took part in decisive operations, including the Normandy landings. England, 1938. A woman pushes a gas-proof baby carriage created as a precaution amid fears of chemical attacks. With filters and full sealing, the model kept the baby isolated from contaminated air. On February 14, 1945, Valentine's Day, a little girl kisses an American soldier. The tender scene takes place during World War II and symbolizes a moment of affection in a time of conflict. Julie Newmar appears in a 1958 photo, years before gaining prominence in television and film. She became known in the 1960s for portraying a feline character in a superhero series, marking the era with charisma and screen presence. After 25 days of intense fighting, United States Marines and South Vietnamese troops retake the Imperial Palace of Hue, ending the occupation by the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese Army. The clash was part of the 1968 Tet Offensive. An alligator park in Buena Park, California in the early 20th century allowed visitors to observe and interact with the animals. Children often appeared feeding alligators or being photographed beside them during supervised visits. Vietnamese children are flown to the United States in 1975 as part of an international evacuation effort to relocate minors who had lost their families during the Vietnam War, known as Operation Baby Lift. A United States soldier holds a photograph of his partner during wartime. It was common for service members to carry portraits of family or loved ones to preserve memories and find emotional motivation amid the hardship of combat. Children play outdoors on an ordinary day while, in the background between two of them, a semi-transparent figure with an unusual shape appears. The curious detail has fueled debate and varied interpretations over the years, making it one of the most discussed mysterious photographs of the 20th century. In the winter of 1940, the photograph shows how people found simple forms of leisure even in severe cold. Daily activities were marked by creativity and community, as outdoor entertainment helped make the freezing days lighter and more cheerful. The image shows a shaving robot used in demonstrations in the 1990s. With mechanical arms, the device showcased the era's automation innovations and the early steps toward robotic assistant technology. Giza, a bulldog adopted in 1922, became the official mascot of the United States Marine Corps. The animal quickly turned into a symbol of courage, loyalty, and unit spirit, core values of the Corps, and is remembered as part of American military tradition. A mother and 9 children live in an improvised camp along U.S. Highway 70 near the Tennessee River in March 1936. The scene reflects the hardships faced by many families during the economic crisis of the 1930s in the United States. Sharon Tate appears in 1960s, photographs that show her distinctive style and the era's look. The images capture elegance and ease that made her a fashion and film icon, reflecting the light, sophisticated spirit of that generation. A young woman during the Great Depression in the 1930s. The photo shows the harsh reality faced by millions of Americans, especially children, who lived in extreme poverty while families struggled to survive the economic crisis. A girl wears a caterpillar costume in an unusual setting, possibly linked to a school performance or themed celebration. The colorful outfit and exaggerated details create a curious image typical of early 20th century productions and festivities. An American family during the Great Depression, which began in 1929, faces mass unemployment, widespread poverty, and long food lines across the United States, making it one of the most difficult periods in the nation's modern history. Ham the chimpanzee is seen moments before his launch into space on January 31, 1961, in the United States. Aboard NASA's Mercury capsule, he became the first primate to complete a suborbital mission and return alive. The successful flight was a key step in the American space program. Nikola Tesla stands in his Colorado Springs laboratory in 1899, beside his magnifying transmitter. The equipment could generate millions of volts and produce electrical discharges up to about 131 feet long. These experiments were part of Tesla's pioneering research on wireless transmission of electric power. Chester E. McDuffie stands beside one of the first atmospheric diving suits, developed in 1911 in the United States. Made of aluminum and weighing about 571 pounds, the suit allowed a diver to withstand high underwater pressure. Built in the 1930s, the Fiat factory in Turin, Italy, featured a test track on the roof of the building. Cars were evaluated there right after leaving the assembly line, highlighting technological progress and the innovative character of Italy's auto industry. The British airship R-33 is prepared for launch in 1919. Considered one of the largest and most advanced of its time, it was developed for military and exploratory missions and marked a milestone in post-World War I aeronautical engineering. Pneumatic tubes link 23 post offices in New York City, covering 27 miles across town. Used until 1957, the tubes carried letters and small parcels quickly, reflecting early 20th century technological advances in the postal system. At the start of Hoover Dam's construction in 1930, the scene captures a worksite full of heavy machinery and laborers. Located on the Colorado River, the dam stood out as one of the era's major engineering achievements. In 1914, a train crosses a high viaduct in Bingham, Utah, carrying copper ore from local mines. Transporting this resource was vital to the region's economic development and highlighted the railroad's importance to early 20th century industrial and mining growth. Several cars collide on the north turn at the Daytona Circuit during a 1959 race in the United States. The multi-vehicle crash became one of the period's memorable motorsport episodes, highlighting the risks and challenges of high-speed competition. A piano teacher is shown giving a lesson in a classical setting in 1987. The image shows traditional music instruction before digital technologies became widespread, emphasizing direct contact between teacher and student in artistic learning. A Mongolian woman in 1913 stands inside a wooden box used as punishment. This method, common in early 20th century Mongolia, restricted movement for long periods and served as both punishment and public exposure. Around 1905, a Chinese man offers food to another who is restrained in a kangui, a device for public punishment in Imperial China. Made of wood and placed around the neck, the kangui limited movement and kept the condemned person on display as a form of punishment and humiliation. A police officer in London watches an ankle competition in the 1930s. The popular event brought together contestants and curious spectators to judge whose ankles were finest and most defined, reflecting the customs and beauty ideals of the time. A couple uses roller skates and a handheld sail to move through the streets of Berlin in the 1920s. The sail caught the wind, allowing the skaters to travel quickly and easily, reflecting the creative, experimental spirit of the era. In 1889, a farmer named Joseph Swan publicized an image of a huge potato, drawing public attention and boosting his sales. Years later, it was revealed that the supposed potato was actually a sculpture made to look real. Soldiers pose around a large winged creature resembling a prehistoric reptile. The image, of uncertain origin, has generated debate over the years. Some believe it shows an unknown species. Others consider it a staged scene or a historical misinterpretation. Stacks of lumber dry in a yard in Seattle, Washington, around 1919. At the time, Seattle was one of the main centers of the Pacific Northwest timber industry, supplying the growing demand for building materials in the United States. Loggers cut down a giant tree in the state of Oregon in 1918. The photograph shows the physical strength and hard labor typical of the early 20th century timber industry, a sector essential to the Pacific Northwest's economic development. In 1918, a group of electricians, essential to the spread of electrification, worked during a period of rapid industrial growth and urbanization. They played a crucial role in building the foundations of modern electrical grids. Workers take a smoke break at a bridge construction site in 1950. The photograph captures a simple moment in the laborers' routine and reveals the human side behind the heavy construction work that marked post-war urban and industrial expansion. Women clean herring caught in the North Sea in a photograph from the 1890s. The work was vital to the fishing industry and demanded speed, precision, and stamina during long hours along the coasts of Northern Europe. Women deliver blocks of ice in 1918 in the United States during the First World War. With many men at the front, they took on essential city jobs such as hauling ice to preserve food without electric refrigeration. During World War I, British women who worked in munitions plants were called munitionettes, or canary girls. Contact with TNT often turned their skin yellowish, which led to the nickname. An outdoor hockey game in Sweden is urgently halted in 1959 because of a sudden snowstorm. The game took place on a frozen lake, a common setting for winter sports in the country at the time. A group of children experiences ice for the first time, exploring the slippery surface with curiosity and surprise. The scene reflects fun and discovery, likely in a region with a severe winter. Annie Oakley in 1899 demonstrates her skill by hitting targets using a handheld mirror. Known for remarkable accuracy even when shooting backward, she became one of the greatest sharpshooters of her era and drew large crowds with performances that combined technique, control, and showmanship. A 1948 photo shows Salvador Dali suspended in midair, surrounded by floating objects including chairs, water, and cats, creating a surreal scene. The image resulted from a collaboration with photographer Philippe Halsman and required many attempts to achieve the final shot. Brigitte Bardot visits Pablo Picasso's studio in 1956 in France. The photograph records a meeting between two major icons of French culture during a period of intense artistic creation and deep cultural change in the mid-20th century. Anne Margaret poses elegantly for the camera in a 1970s image. Known for charisma and talent, she stood out in popular productions of the era, including musicals with major names in film and music. The first version of Ronald McDonald, created in the 1960s, wore a hat shaped like a food tray and a cup on his nose. The character was developed for television commercials to attract children and promote the brand in a playful, memorable way. At only 10 years old, young Elizabeth holds her corgi named Dookie. From childhood, she showed great affection for animals, especially corgis, which later became associated with the British royal family. A photograph by Inge Morath shows a llama walking through Times Square in New York City in 1950. The unusual scene contrasts with the city's hectic pace, creating a memorable image that blends humor and surprise in the heart of the world's busiest urban center. Sophia Loren during a 1955 conference at the height of her career in Italian cinema and Hollywood. By then, she was recognized as an international star, admired for talent, elegance, and striking screen presence. Madeline Smith, one of the famous Bond girls, poses for a photograph in the 1970s. The image captures the era's style and her charm as she wears youthful 70s fashion while leaning on a bicycle. A flock of sheep crosses Grand Coulee Dam during its construction in the 1930s in the United States. The photograph records the contrast between rural life and large infrastructure projects, symbolizing economic and social change driven by industrial growth. Two waiters serve lunch to two construction workers during the building of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel on Park Avenue in New York City in 1930. The scene reflects the laborers' tough routine and the project's scale. Small gas stations began to appear in the United States during the 1920s to serve growing fuel demand as automobiles rapidly spread. These simple, functional structures marked the start of modern roadway infrastructure expansion. A photographer poses on an elevated structure over Berlin in 1912, wearing clothing typical of the early 20th century. From above, he captures panoramic images of the urban landscape with historic buildings and the German capital's skyline in the background. A woman poses in front of the wreckage of a train crash in an image from the early years of the railways. At that time, rail tragedies were frequent because safety and maintenance systems were still being developed and improved. The Ranga Brothers Grocery, run by Italian immigrants in New York City in 1943, sold traditional products and served as a gathering point for the local community, reflecting daily life and the strong cultural presence of immigrants in the city's neighborhoods. A young delivery boy poses beside a horse-drawn goods cart in a 1920s scene. The image illustrates the work many children did in urban areas, helping their families with daily support. A Welsh woman bathes her husband after his shift in the mines in a 1931 photograph. The scene shows domestic routine and the crucial role of wives supporting miners when coal mining was a major part of Wales's economy. A photograph taken in 1905 at the Isolation Hospital in Oslo, Norway, shows women visiting relatives kept in quarantine for illnesses such as tuberculosis or smallpox, separated by a glass wall to prevent contagion. The image depicts public health measures used in the early 20th century. A replica of the Statue of Liberty is displayed in Paris before being sent to the United States. The exhibition took place in the late 19th century to celebrate the historic ties and friendship between France and the United States, marking the gift of the monument as a symbol of freedom and cooperation between the nations. Excavation of the Sphinx in Giza, Egypt, around 1850, shows archaeologists removing sand that had accumulated over centuries, revealing buried parts of the monument and renewing interest in the civilizations of ancient Egypt. In 1920 in France, Samuel Reshevsky, only 8 years old, challenged and defeated several chess masters at the same time. The feat highlighted his exceptional ability and made him a major prospect in the chess world. An Inuk man teaches a boy to shoot in the Arctic, passing on essential hunting and survival skills for the region's extreme climate. This practice is a fundamental part of Inuit culture, taught from an early age to ensure subsistence and preserve ancestral traditions. Jack, a baboon in South Africa, helped at a railway station in the late 1800s. He was trained to operate train signals and worked for nearly 10 years without errors, becoming known for his precision. Jack Johnson, a boxing pioneer and the first black world heavyweight champion, is seen training with a mechanical device in 1910. The scene draws attention for the unusual combination of athletic training and motorized invention in the early 20th century. James Naismith, the inventor of basketball, poses in 1939 with a ball and a peach basket, symbols of the sport's origins. Created in 1891 as a winter activity, the game began with simple rules and improvised equipment. A rare photo shows a test of American football helmets in the early 1900s. At that time, the sport was still evolving and safety measures were basic. Leather helmets appeared as a novelty but offered little protection against impacts. Early child car seats developed in the 1930s and 1940s used simple metal and fabric frames. They mainly kept a child visible to adults, but did not provide crash protection. A children's iron lung in use in the 1940s was essential for treating respiratory paralysis caused by polio, a disease that affected thousands worldwide. The device maintained artificial breathing through mechanical pressure and saved countless lives. Swedish drivers adjust to the switch to right-hand driving on September 4, 1967, known as Dagen H or H-Day. The change was made to standardize traffic with neighboring European countries after months of public education campaigns and new signage. A police officer watches over a pharmacy during the Great Flood of 1974 in Ontario, Canada. Considered one of the region's most severe floods, it caused extensive damage and affected many towns, leaving streets underwater and disrupting access to essential services. Benedictine nuns enjoyed leisure time in Grayland, Washington in 1960. Wearing traditional habits, they walk along the beach and share relaxed moments, offering a rare glimpse of simple, joyful religious life outside the convent. Priests take part in a soccer match in Barcelona in the 1960s. The friendly game brought together clergy from several parishes and drew public and local media attention for the unusual scene, showing a relaxed, athletic side of religious life. Physical therapists help a patient enter a thermal pool to perform rehabilitation exercises. The use of hot spring waters as part of physical treatment is an ancient practice recognized for therapeutic and muscle recovery benefits. A 106-year-old Armenian woman sits in front of her home in the village of Degh in southern Armenia in 1990. She holds a rifle as a symbol of protection after the conflicts between Armenia and Azerbaijan that marked the early 1990s. The image reflects the impact of tensions in the region and the resilience of local communities. In 1960, bars in Istanbul, Turkey, hired kufici, porters who carried intoxicated patrons home in large baskets strapped to their backs. The practice was common in the city's busiest areas and reflected local customs of hospitality and social life at the time. In 1921, New York City Deputy Police Commissioner John A. Leach supervises the disposal of alcoholic beverages seized during a prohibition operation, a period when the production and sale of alcohol were banned in the United States. German women clear debris on Tauentzienstrasse in Berlin, with the ruins of Kaiser Wilhelm Church in the background. The 1945 photograph shows civilian efforts to rebuild the devastated city after intense World War II bombing. 3 coal miners in Wales pause after an exhausting day underground. Their clothing and faces are covered in dust, showing the difficult working conditions below ground.